Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the podcast mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better. And today I am very excited because I have someone who for the last 15 years has been given back to society. And it's an amazing way that she has been doing that. Please put your hands together for Kayoko Mitsumatsu. Kayoko, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Phil.
So you've been giving back to India because of yoga, because that helped you back in 2007. You've been practicing since 2007, and you decided to give back to yoga. Let's just get into it first. Please introduce yourself to my audience.
Yes, so this is Kayoko Mitsumatsu. I'm based in Los Angeles, California, USA. I was born in Japan, in Tokyo, and I grew up there until I graduated from high school. I went to Australia for a year, and then I went to Brazil for 2.5 years because of my father's business. And then I became a documentary filmmaker for the Japanese National Public Television for 7 years. Then I went to London as a culture attaché for the Japanese embassy. And then I moved to Los Angeles in early 90s. And I have worked as an independent documentary television producer for Japanese public television for almost 25 years. And during that time, I started yoga, and that's the rest is history.
Wow! So you've had a lived life even before you started in yoga.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have been fortunate. I've been many different places in the world and within Japan too.
So when you what was the reason you began starting yoga?
Yoga gives back. Oh, yoga practice.
Yoga. Let's start at the cusp of the moment. Like in 2007, you started yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a reason you wanted to start yoga, or was it just you heard of the benefits of yoga? Because nowadays we hear about how amazing yoga is. So
yeah, that's a good question. I just love physical exercise always. So I actually did Taekwondo here in Los Angeles, and I got black belt. So like everything I do, I just focus. So my girlfriend just asked me to join her to just take yoga class, and it wasn't that popular 15 years ago, but there were, I'm very fortunate in Los Angeles. There are so many great teachers, great studios. So I started going, and then I started to bet, within 1 year, the real benefit, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. And then very soon I learned that yoga practice is not the physical practice, is just one tiny little piece of big tradition of yoga. The ultimate goal is more like spiritual awareness, spiritual growth, to connect myself to a bigger myself, higher self, which I didn't even know existed inside me at that time. So I just got into very interested in the philosophy and the tradition of yoga. And around that time, I was also making a documentary about social entrepreneurship, especially microfinancing. Dr. Muhammad Yunus, many of you probably have known him, have heard of his name. He received Nobel Peace Prize for his revolutionary microfinancing, giving chance to poor women, especially small loans that will take them out of poverty and give them chance to start their own business and get out of poverty, vicious cycle of generation of poverty in their families. So I was doing the documentary about that. Then I was starting to take yoga classes, and I was spending about $10 to $15 a class. Sometimes buy nice pants that was $60. And it hit me very hard one day that I'm getting so much benefit from this, paying $15 for class. First, if I use this $15 as a microfinancing resource to help poor women in India, where yoga is from, we can make a huge difference, right? Because At that time, I think there were about 15 million people or something practicing yoga in the US. Now it was to be like 300 million in the world practicing yoga, something like that, generating $80 billion a year. So if we are benefiting so much this way, to yourself, it has to go the other way too, to give back. Hit me very hard. Yeah. Also, during that time, I studied a lot of Sanskrit and yoga traditional philosophies. My teacher really taught me a lot of things. I was very fortunate. And I came across this saying that said, first part of your life is to experience and to learn, but second part of your life is use that knowledge and give back, serve others. And I was 47 at that time. So I realized, oh my God, I've been fortunate to have this education and all sorts of experiences in these different parts of the world. I have seen a lot. And I was ready to really give back with all I have. Plus, I was getting so much benefit from daily practice of yoga. So I started sharing this idea like, why don't we do something to give back to India with our benefit from yoga and help women, and especially the vulnerable women and children there? And I was surprised. Nobody said no. Everybody said yes. I think that's the power of Los Angeles. So I think that's the culture of here, like very entrepreneurial.
Mhm.
So everybody said yes. Everybody was looking for a way to give back to India, but they didn't know how. And so, long story short, in 15 years, we reached out to now 30 countries and empowering more than 2,400 underserved women and children. So along the way, we developed a program into different branches. So we have microfinancing, we have education for children and young people, 5-year scholarship that gives higher education, especially for young girls who have no chance otherwise. And we are
Mhm.
now seeing them graduating with bachelor's degrees and becoming leaders in rural villages. It's very inspiring. And we just started a small pad project so that women can have access to sanitary napkins during menstruation, which they never had. And they are now producing their own. So we are funding that pad project. And also we are starting digital project, also digital center, because a lot of girls and women, especially, they don't have mobile phones or they don't have any access to computers. Like we are using computers like this or internet, we take for granted, but these things are not available for this vulnerable population. So our programs are growing like that.
Oh, I love how you're giving back tenfold for what yoga has given to you. When you were looking at doing the micro loans and setting up Yoga Gives Back, and you had this well of support from the yoga community, obviously in your area, were there any hurdles that you faced?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I had never experienced or never worked for nonprofit. I mean, NGO and yeah, nonprofit, right? I
Hmm.
always worked for nonprofit organization in that sense. Like public television is one, but not really like for social charity organization. And we started from scratch. So at first, to just get a 501c3 legal uh, tax benefit, like status, so we can write tax um, receipts, that IRS status, that took like 2 years because we went through like pro bono lawyers who said who were doing, but actually wasn't doing, and so everything like that. And also, one critical question I used to be asked initially was, why are you helping people in India where America has so many problems, homeless issues, drug issues, all sorts of issues. So that was a very good question that made me think how to respond and why am I doing this? It was a really critical question. And my answer became very clear. My answer was that first, there was no organization in the yoga community who was focused on giving back to the source, the
Hmm.
mother India, and helping the vulnerable women and children who have no chance to even practice yoga. They don't have enough food, right? That's one. Number two, there are so many organizations in the US already who are doing amazing work, to help homeless people or animal rights or breast cancer, whatever. So I would leave that job to these people, these experts. But my job was to start this organization and focus on this because there was nothing that was doing this, giving back to the source of yoga that we benefit so much from.
No, it's true. Yoga, like I started doing yoga. I'm not a daily practitioner. I do it at least once a week to keep
Good.
myself limber. So I haven't had, but I've noticed a quality of life increase with yoga whenever my mind settles because I'm so focused on trying to keep the position. I don't have time to think about anything else. Um, so yeah, I love when I saw that you wanted to be a guest on the podcast. I was overjoyed because I love yoga, and I then on top of it with the giving back with the micro loans is phenomenal. Um, because you took this big risk, because starting an NGO, you know, a nonprofit is a risk because you're trying to help these people. Do you have a tip for people who are starting in this world, who are looking to start their own charity?
Yeah, excellent question. Yeah, because I have gone through this path as a total beginner. Every step of the way was a new finding, new discoveries. So there are a lot of challenges every step of the way, I guess. But I think it's very important to have a clear vision, your North Star, what you want to do. You know, you have to make it very clear in your heart, because a lot of people tell you, "Oh, that's not work. That's not going to work," or that's better," or things like that. And there are some people throw competition, and I always thought this is not a competition; it's a collaborative work. But there are so many things like that. So I think it's very important to have your core belief and the reasoning why you are doing this. And number two is very important to find your friends, colleagues who share your mission. Without these people, I would have never been here. Of course, most people are volunteers and their lives change. So many people who were in my first 2 or 3 years are never here anymore. But thanks to these people, I'm here today. And every step of the way, new people come in and bring new energy. And that's how I connect with so many people around the world. And I cannot believe how this kind of grassroots mission can connect us. It's very powerful. I meet we have about 150 ambassadors who are yoga teachers from around the world who do like Yoga Gives Back fundraising all year round and help us raise funds to give back to India. I've never met them, most of them, but if I meet them, I feel like they're my brothers and sisters for a long time, because people come to our organization not to make money or to become famous, but just because they want to give back together, right? So this savor, selfless service, that kind of mission brings such wonderful people. So I always feel so inspired. So I think, sorry to go long,
Oh,
but
you can go as long as you want. Please continue. This is your show.
thank you. But yeah, so I think it's very important to have these peers, your team, who share your mission.
I love that. And like you've helped over 2,400 underserved mothers and children. Have you been able to receive like the stories about how the impact of your work has helped them?
Definitely, because I have just been to India. I usually go there every year, but because of the pandemic, I could not go. And because I'm a filmmaker, so ever since my first trip to India, I have been filming um, the stories of our fund recipients who are now our families. I don't feel like they're fund recipients anymore. They inspire, they teach me now so much. So, yeah, for example, as I talked about, we have given this scholarship for young people for the last 10 years now. So we see hundreds of people now graduating with bachelor's degree. They're becoming teachers. They're becoming like police officers, or one guy started like a digital lab in Mysore and giving opportunity to younger generation who don't have much money to learn digital skills so that they can get ahead, things like that. And women with microloans, they somehow survive. There is a wonderful story, if I may share.
Please do.
Yeah, there is a very poor woman, Sonomani, who is probably around 30s, in the rural villages of Calcutta, where we serve about 550 women with microloans. By the way, we work with local non-governmental organizations, NGOs, so because we cannot be there, right, to monitor or manage the program. So they are the ones who really manage our programs. We developed our program together with them. So anyway, so there are 550 women we are supporting every year. One of them is Sonamoni. When I met her in 2018, she was making straw mats, handmade straw mats in the village as a microloan group. But she told me the reason why she joined there was, of course, she needed income, but also because she's been beaten up all her life since she got married and she gave a birth to a daughter. Because it was a girl baby, husband and in-laws hated it, and there was no value to her life and her daughter's life. So she showed me like a cut on her arm that has been done by her husband, and that goes on every day. Unfortunately, these kind of things are happening every day. But this time, after 3 years of pandemic, of course, we were in touch, with an NGO partner. So I knew women were surviving, and they come up with all sorts of ideas to survive against all odds. But this time there was a happy story because she was wearing glasses. She looked so like happy and sophisticated. And she said, and in this village, these straw mats became so popular and high demands during the COVID when the market was closed, and local vendor really put good price for them. So this business was booming during pandemic, of
Oh,
course, after the lockdown, when they can get together again. So her husband, Sonomoni's husband, lost his income, but he saw that his wife is making good money. So he came to beg to learn how to make this straw mat. As a result, like she became a leader in the house, and her husband is now working with her, and
oh.
everything changed. In-laws are respecting her. So this is a kind of story that you how can you plan this, right?
Oh, that's an amazing. Not only did you change her life, you changed the community's life. You changed her husband because her husband's probably now even happier because he's like, I don't have to do this backbreaking labor that I don't love. I get to stay here in the family, create these mats that I know produce income for us, and it's art. My God.
Yeah, it was just. And when she was talking to me, I didn't even know that was her. And Geo partner had to tell me that's Sonomoni, and I could not believe because she looked so different. But you said very interesting thing right now. You said we changed her, but actually all we did was providing a tool. She had a strength in herself to become this person today, or even more. She might do more things that surprise us again, inspire us. But we were just giving a tool with a small money, right? And that is exactly what I'm learning more and more. Just like yoga, like Phil, you said you feel so good with yoga once a week, right? That's a
Mhm.
tool to make yourself better, to live better. Um, and so we are receiving this tool to enrich ourselves and do good things in life, right? That's yoga. And so in return, we are giving some kind of monetary tool or like microfinancing or education. But it's just a chance and opportunity. I don't think we are transforming their lives. They have that strength within them. It was just blocked because of the poverty and social injustice and prejudice.
Oh, I love how you're doing amazing work, and I'm so glad that I get a chance to platform you and share your story and about the amazing work that you guys are doing with Yoga Gives Back. Um, do you happen to have a memory, maybe like a core memory, apart from this amazing story you just shared, of how you changed because of this?
Yeah, that's another good question. um, yeah, because of this, I guess I just I I don't know how if I have changed, but my conviction that for this mission just grows stronger and stronger, and I just feel so grateful for this mission. And as I said, I just realized more and more strongly that these people that we are offering tools or empowering, um, we are not like up, we are not giving up to down. We are like family. That's how I
Mhm.
feel, really. And they have so little, and they teach me so much every time. The sheer gratitude, sheer resilience against all odds. when you meet like girls, who had no chance to continue education, they could have been sold for prostitution or human trafficking, or there are lots of traps all over the place. But because of this chance we were able to give back, they have totally changed their lives with their strength. So yeah, I guess if anything, I just learned that yeah, we are like family, really family.
I love that. Just cementing that we are just one huge family in the world, and you're doing your part to help uh, a country that needs it because we can give back, and that's our job is to give back, help uplift people who are lower than us, just bring them to the next level. Where do you see this going in 5 years? Where do you see yourself and the Yoga Gives Back in 5 years?
Yeah, thanks. Um, so we have many like branches around the world. Like I, one of the so YGB Japan, YGB Singapore, Hong Kong, Netherlands, UK, Canada, and I would hope that these global branches will become more sustainable and you know grow bigger, so that you know, like a lot of big organizations do that, but the impact we can bring to India becomes multifold. Right now, like we're doing a lot of things from here, Los Angeles, and I'm the only employee. So I'm doing like 90%. Of course, I'm supported by volunteers and some professionals, but so much work is done from here. But if we can replicate this even more equally around the world, I think the impact for India should become, million times bigger.
Oh, and I really I have a few ideas I want to talk to you after the show about how
Good.
that can help because
Yes.
I love the idea of giving back. It's something that I love doing with podcasting, and I see what you're doing, and you're actually changing like not just one life, you're changing generations of life by bringing these ladies and to school, get their bachelors. The gentleman who opened the tech school to help those students get a digital world, like you're changing the world in unknown ways, but it's going to be generational. So I do want to help you any way I can. Um,
Thank you.
but I have a question. Are you worried at any point about something happening, another pandemic happening that could damage the hard work that you've done?
Yeah. Of course, like last 2 years, it was so unknown, and a lot of charities have struggled. And interesting thing is like the 2020 when India, I don't know if you remember, India had gone horrible time with the oxygen crisis and thousands of people dying every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that news brought a lot of people attention about the ordeal that Indian people are going through. So that was a good year for us. We raised a lot of money. But when it comes to actually, when it comes back to the normal, like right now, you don't hear anything about India. You don't hear anything about how girls and women treated in India, right? So I am not so worried about the pandemic or things like that, but I I need to do more and more like awareness campaign, continue to make sure, especially yoga community, people who are benefiting from this practice, businesses. I know a lot of yoga teachers don't make much money, so I can't say so much about teachers, but students who can afford to go to expensive retreats to feel good about themselves. These are the people, if you have a lot to feel good and make lots of profit, let's give back. And I think I worry more about that. How can we grow into more much higher level impact with sustainability? India's need is unlimited. It will continue, pandemic or not. It's horrible, you know, horrible situation continues. So we need to keep doing and keep growing.
Fully, and I'm so excited to talk to you off air because I have like 100 ideas just popping in my head right now, and this is why I love podcasting. This is one of the joys of my life. I get to connect with entrepreneurs like you and so many others that are bringing change and helping the world become a better place. With that, I would love to ask you the spark question of the show. Spark, as you know, is from the Seek Discomfort. They're always looking to find those strangers that are just friends you haven't met yet. Um, what is your favorite memory from the past year?
Wow, that's interesting. It's probably, again, I just came back from India, so it's very strong in my mind. But it's past year, so does it include this January? Is that okay, this
It
January?
includes from this point all the way back to last year at this point. That's the last 365 days.
All right. So I will talk about the boy that I met in my first trip to India in 2007, Guru Prasad. He was 15. He couldn't speak a word of English. He was a high school kid. Mother was a Jayashri, poor woman. She just got microloan and started buying sewing machine and so on. His dream was to become a doctor. So we funded him since 2007, and he became a doctor now a couple of years ago. And I kept communicating, but he was helping pandemic during pandemic. During this huge surge, like babies, and he was volunteering in a hospital and all sorts of things. But I wasn't in touch so regularly. So just before I went to India, about 2 months ago, I texted him and then, Guru, I'm coming. So can we meet? And I have learned he left this prestigious hospital, went to Calcutta all the way from Bangalore to study further to become oncologist, specialized oncologist to serve the poor. In addition, I found out that he got married to a woman doctor during his time in Bangalore hospital. But this lady comes from very small tribe, ethnic tribe of North India called Sikkim, near Nepal. So very poor ethnic community, and that's where she comes from when she became a doctor. So there is these two amazing couple, young doctors, one from city, Bangalore city, but poor background. This wife now comes from Sikkim, uh, ethnic background, and then so I met him in Calcutta, and then he told me like he just had a baby. So
Oh my
he
God.
showed me a daughter's picture, and I'm like, where is this story going? When I first met him, I have filmed entire journey of almost 15 years now. And it's been very emotional. He was like my star scholarship student because he inspired us to start this higher scholarship for higher education, because we could see how he studied so hard every step and became a doctor. Now that's why we are now funding 400 youths every year with 5-year scholarship. And if everybody becomes, and I know everybody is becoming like him, like the story after story, like now he has a daughter, and I know his daughter is going to be fabulous because he's not prejudiced, or he comes from background, such hard background. He knows his education just changed his life. And he met this woman doctor from such tribal community who wants to help poor people with medicine. So who knows where this story goes, but I'm just blown away when every single time I communicate with him or I meet him, he just shows a picture of a daughter and like,
Oh my God.
yeah. So things like that. It's like a movie, it's like a movie.
It is. It's amazing, and you get to film it and share it with your documentary and you have this beautiful eye with your documentary, so you can tell these riveting stories. I am blown away. I'm so glad that we've gotten to connect, Kyoto. But we are coming to the end, so I'm going to jump off the screen. Please tell my audience where they can help you, support you, or even connect with you. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. So please join us visiting yogagivesback.org. Our mantra is, for the cost of one yoga class, you can change your life. And we have proven that's true. Okay. Thank you so much.
Kyoto, thank you so much for being on the show. To my audience, make sure you check out the show notes down below, because like she says, for price of one yoga class, you can change a life. And you heard some of the amazing stories that she just shared. I know there's plethora more. So go check out the website. The links are in the show notes down below. And always remember to invest in yourself.